I'm looking around trying to figure out where I was. And then I said, okay, I think I know where I am. So we were around MacArthur Park area downtown. I don't know why, but I just happened to look up across the street to a building on the rooftop, and I see two guys, and all of a sudden it was like, and you just hear bullets. I am Norma Vega. I am originally from Guadalajara, Mexico. Came to Los Angeles at the age of 5. When we first moved to Pico Union, there's a couple gang members, but in those days, the gang members had a different kind of mentality. The reason why they started was to protect the neighborhood. But with time, I would say as I got older, probably around, I got to junior high. This is now stuff that's happening in the world is affecting us. So we had the war, in El Salvador, Guatemala. Then all of the folks that were coming over because of the war, they came to that area. 2 blocks away from where I grew up on my same street was the origins. This is where Mara Salvatrucha and MS-13 started. By the time I was in high school, I would say that every single boy that I grew up with was in a gang. At the same time that all of these things are happening, there was also stuff happening at different levels of government. They never built schools. So we were overcrowded, and then they started a busing program where they were gonna bus us out to schools that were hours and hours away. We'd have to wake up at 5 a.m. to catch a bus, and on that bus, you would have gang members. There was nothing you can do. There would be fights inside the bus. Our buses would get shot at, and it was supposed to be temporary until they built more schools, but they never did. And then I go to Grant High School, and I was like, whoa, a lot of white people that didn't like us. But I was an honor student. They put me in these honors classes with kids that, we're both part of the same system. I'm not as articulate as everyone else in my class. I hadn't read the books. It hit me like, wow, I guess I'm not that smart. At the same time that's happening, my friends are dying. Every weekend you're going to a funeral, a wake. Sometimes there would be multiple friends that would get killed. Little by little, it starts chipping away at like that, yes, I can do it, the si se puede attitude. By the time I was in my senior year, it was bad. I was ditching school. I started drinking a lot. Life was pretty much spiraling downward. I happened to go to a party. I was with some friends, and then we're driving home. I'm behind the driver. I fell asleep. It's really late. At some point, I wake up. I don't know why, but I just happened to look up to a building on the rooftop, and I see 2 guys, and they got guns. And my friend who was next to me pulled me toward him and then put his body on top of mine. And so my legs went up, and all of a sudden it was like, brrr, and you just hear bullets. And one of the bullets went through both of my legs. And it was where my head was. If my friend hadn't done that, I wouldn't be here today. My whole life, all I wanted was to go to school, to be different, and here I am, dead today, a statistic. The girl from the barrio, didn't do anything, probably gonna be labeled a gang member. And all of a sudden, I realized, what a pathetic life I had lived. And then I heard a voice that said that I had to help people like me. When I die, my life is gonna matter. I'm not going out like this. Getting shot was the best thing that happened to me. I feel like it was such a blessing because up to that point, the hopelessness had already sunk in. I don't know where I would be if I hadn't got shot. It woke me up. I was taking classes to help myself heal and deal with what had happened to me. And then I went to a MECHA conference, Indigenous Contribution to the Americas. We were in this huge circle, say your name and the school that you're from. And there was 2 people in particular. And so then the girl gets up, she goes, hi, with her huipil and her trenzas and dark as hell. And I'm like, how ridiculous. There she gets, my name is whatever her name was, and I'm from MECHA de Stanford. And I'm like, oh my God, I almost fell over. I almost had a heart attack. And then the guy then gets up and he says, hi, everybody. And he did talk like a little homie. And I was like, mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm from Mecha at UC Berkeley. And that just was like, wow. And I remember thinking, damn, I better shut up. And after that, I was so humbled. And I was just like, whoa. But it was the first time that I saw anyone that remotely looked like me that was already at the university. And they were so self-assured. They were so confident. They had this confidence when they were speaking and speaking their truth and what they were about. I was like, I want that. At that point, I was no longer worried about what I was going to major in. It was more about whatever I do, it's going to be, social justice. Within less than a year, I transferred to UC Irvine and graduated from UC Irvine with honors. It wasn't until I took a Chicano studies class and I started reading about MALDEF and these lawyers that were fighting on the legal front. I remember that day when I was in class, was reading that, and I slammed the book and I said, that's it. I found it. I know what I want to do. I want to work at MALDEF. That's what I'm going to do. The first case that I worked on was the Williams lawsuit that forced LA Unified School District to build schools so that no kid had to be bused anymore. It was my personal story that I was able to share with the lawyers, and we were able to get in the lawsuit, something that they never would have thought of, like, kids getting shot at or kids getting jumped in the bus. This is why LAUSD got on it and built all those schools. This is why we no longer have kids being bused. For me, working at MALDEF was fighting not just for the people that we were representing, but it was like fighting for myself, for that kid, and then all of those friends of mine that are not alive today. They didn't have that chance. Then here I am. I've done all of this stuff. I realized that everything I had been doing to that point was coming from rage and anger because I was fighting social justice and I was fighting the good fight on behalf of the underdog. Then I had every right to be angry. But that anger was only hurting myself. How can I still fight the good fight, but do it from a place of love and peace? I am the Chief Strategy and External Relations Officer for the American Red Cross in the LA region. We have the commitment to ensuring that the Red Cross delivers services to Latinos, because obviously we're disproportionately affected, but then also really building on that to help other vulnerable communities.
And as you can see, Hurricane Matthew is churning right off the coast.
Hurricane Matthew happens in North Carolina. I arrived maybe a month before the presidential election. Trump signs everywhere. I got really dirty looks from people. I was warned by African American volunteers to be careful with certain towns that I had to go to and kind of just, check out. And I go, why? And they said, because when it gets dark, the Ku Klux Klan come out. They don't really harass us. They're really harassing all the Mexicans, the Latinos. I wasn't finding a whole lot of Latinos in our shelters because they weren't coming. I decided I was gonna leave, and then I get a call. It was a group of Latinos. They lived in these little trailers, and their trailers had been flooded and they had been red tagged. So she says, we're desperate. We do not know what to do. Nobody will help us. And so I said, I am gonna help you. I guess I'm staying. I drive into the little mobile park and I'm all like red, of course. And they're all looking at me and I said, que no pan del cúnico, ya llegó el Chapulín Colorado. That immediately just broke the ice. So I go back the next day and I said, ayer llegó el Chapulín Colorado y hoy llegó Santa Claus. They get in line and I have all of my little note. Okay, number one, who's and they come, here's this, and we're kind of giving them out. We got the shelter, I'm on cloud 9. I'm so happy and I got to go say bye. They're hugging me and crying, they really believed they were going to die. Oh, we don't know how we're going to repay you. And I told them, oh, I know how you're going to pay me. I said, all of your kids are going to go to college. And I said, and I don't care how hard life gets for you. And I know it will be hard, and I know you're going to be lacking and you're going to need money. Do not have your kids work and not have them go to school. I'm just like you. I said, I was undocumented, I was poor, and the only reason that I'm here today is because I have an education. And then the kid goes, I can't do that. He says, I'm undocumented. I'm like, I don't care if you're undocumented. So you're going to still go to school. And even if you never become, a legal resident or any of that, what you learn, nobody can take from you. That knowledge, the skill set, you're going to take it with you. Nobody can take that from you. They can take everything else, but they're not going to take your education. They're not going to take away that knowledge. So you're going to college. Behind every negative and painful situation, there's something good that's come out. Maybe it wasn't at that moment, but it was later on. When you can take your whole life and you say, you know what, if I had to do it all over again, would you do it? Absolutely.